Alright, how's it going, guys? Good to see you. Switch over to a view here for a second. I'm gonna do a quick little latency test. I was really trying to get things operational on my Discord and computer side. For some reason, things were taking an excessive amount of time to load, and I still have not fully diagnosed the issue. Which really sucks, because I was hoping my PC would cooperate today, because I have a bunch of new brushes that I want to try out. I tried them out off stream, and I was really hoping I would be able to show you guys on stream, but I don't think that's going to happen. Because even my regular brushes, you see that lag? It's pretty tremendous. Ellie, how's it going? But that's a little bit obnoxious. I hope that doesn't persist. I think something might be updating in the background on the computer. I'll do a couple of checks. I should have maybe done a stream test before I started, but such is the quantum problems of having a really shitty laptop as your only method of streaming. Let me just end some tasks, perhaps that will help alleviate this a little bit. Otherwise we can always just switch off Google Chrome, because that does eat up a ton of my, my memory. Well, it's somewhat manageable. I might have to quickly make a new file that isn't as big. But we should be able to do this. I'm sorry, I don't usually like to do this on stream. Because I want to just get on and start painting as soon as possible. Maybe a little bit of adjustment like that would help. Yeah, I think we're in business. Okay. I just had to cut the overall canvas size in half. Tens, how's it going? Your extra laptop? Yeah, I should consider downloading some sort of like non-taxing app to play music in the background, and then I can just not use Chrome at all, because the only thing I have running is YouTube and my Twitch dashboard, but I don't need my dashboard particularly. I can open it up when I require it. Maybe that would be a superior setup, especially given the limitations in the RAM. But I think we're almost ready to begin. Today's references are quite the doozy. I was honestly really hoping I would be able to use these brushes over here, because there are some really cool things in here. Let's do a quick little check. Those ones seem okay. What about you? You, my friend, are a little bit sluggish. When you're smaller, you behave okay. I guess you're alright, especially when you're smaller. Not too bad. What about you? Also okay when you're smaller? The pencil tool? I think we might be in business. I think that's all I really need. Of course there's some fancier tools in there, but I don't think I'll be employing them on stream. Keep things nice and basic, especially given that this is a new set, a bunch of new edges to kind of figure out, so I think it'll be okay. Okay, sounds good. I guess we can use this set. Awesome. So I downloaded the digital Atelier pack. Atelier, I guess it's French, most likely. I don't know. Is Atelier French, Ellie? It means art school. But anyway, it's a pack for Krita. It was about €20, so I mean that's what the stream money goes towards. So it's my duty to purchase this kind of things, just to give you guys a heads up on all things Krita. So if you like the effects of the paintings towards the end of the stream and in maybe the months and weeks after this stream, because I'll be using this pack for a while, I'd like to maybe give something maybe a month or two just to settle in. If you're gonna like any of that work, I'm probably gonna be using this pack almost exclusively for the first month, and then I'll bring back some of the brushes from the previous pack. That's usually how I do it. So today it's going to be exclusively using brushes from the pack, so I'm kind of excited because I just want to force myself to acclimate. Otherwise my painting is going to look the same, and we don't want that to happen. As far as references go, I hope that I updated them properly. I don't think I did actually. Let me just quickly do that. I have an Imgur album of references. Are you today? You in classes again, or are you done? I am done for a while. I'm back home for at least a couple of months. And then depending on how the art school applications go, either I go to America or Singapore for art school, or I go back to Europe to finish my my thesis submission. So one of two things. Let's get my dashboard up and running. This is usually what I do behind the scenes, but I just thought I'd clue you guys in because I didn't want to just have a bunch of time spent with nothing on the screen. Okay, so where we're at is at my big blocky brush. That one takes a little bit of time, but we should be okay. It's not gonna be the worst thing in the world. Ideally, I would prefer it to not lag with anything, but I have everything in this world. Okay, let's just close that. And I'll show you the references for today. Okay, so we got a few of them. Quickly get them over here. So I'm going to start with this piece of armor here. Do that in about 45. Do this hornbill in about 45. And maybe at the end, we'll do this for an hour and a half, maybe. That's a reference picked out by Erica. I think Bonnie picked this one. Erica from Ashley's stream picked that one. And I picked this one. So yeah, if you're a member of the community, you're always welcome to just pop some references my way, and I usually paint them if I get the time to. America would be cool, the meeting you would be like 13 times easier. Yeah, but unfortunately America is also, it's stupidly expensive, and the immigration laws are kind of bullshit. So even if I do complete art school, the chance of me getting an H-1B visa through my workplace is very unlikely. So America is not my first choice. I would much prefer Singapore, or maybe Europe again. I'm not sure. There are some good schools in America though, don't get me wrong. Okay, what are we doing first? The armor, good old armor, never leads me astray. I'm gonna do a little bit of a check to see if the color is cropped. It is. Bring that down a little bit. And we should be good to go. Let's do a quick little reference organization there, and we should be okay. Alright. Streaming in the new setup is a little bit still unfamiliar to me, but I'm just gonna try and stream every single day moving forth from today. Hopefully I get the chance to, and we should be able to acclimate pretty swiftly. It's been raining quite heavily here, and rains in India are not a non-trivial thing. It does mean disruptions in power and utility, so basically I can't use my tablet or I can't use my internet, depending on what goes out first, the internet or the power. So I'm in a bit of a mess when it comes to the whole infrastructure behind it, but whenever I can, I will try to. Okay. Just doing some last minute double checks and we should be good to go. Again, that's my pre-stream stuff, but it decided to just stop working when I started streaming. What can you do? Just gotta accommodate for it. Yeah, I'm back in India. Okay. Let's do a quick little crop. So even further ahead, yes. I am about 3.5 hours later than I usually would be. Crop here, and I think we should be good to go. Maybe I'll beef that up a very slight bit. Hope you guys have had a good weekend so far. You able to see Silly more now? No, she lives on the other side of India, so I'm going to be seeing her in about a month. In the meanwhile, I got my portfolio to worry about. I got plenty of work to do for that. But she understands. Okay, well, latency seems to be alright. Unfortunately, I think the time... What is actually the size of this canvas? I'm quite curious. Let's see. Ah, it's 758 by 1000. That's not bad at all. I can actually post this to Instagram, that means. Iris, thanks for the bits. Appreciate you. Good to see my alerts are working.
Bonus 10. Hi James, hope you had a great day so far. Less than 3.
Yeah, it's been good.
Less than 3.
I really wanted to stream a bit earlier, but it was pouring outside, and I had no idea if the current was going to go off. By current, I mean power. That's what we say in India. We say current. Well, I didn't know if the power was going to go out, so I just got some lifting in the meantime while I waited. Got some bonus overhead press, so my shoulders are nice and inflated for the stream. I don't know if that's going to be a benefit or a loss, but hey, I'm all good. Okay, so 45 minutes on the clock. Let's talk about this for a second, because it is a new brush set, so I'd like to have a bit of a discussion. There is some amount of heavy simplification we can do for this ref. Particularly around here, we have these shapes. These are shapes that we're really going to focus on. And depending on exactly how much we want to simplify, we can even expand these shapes into larger shapes. For instance, we could just say, you know, for our own recognition of the piece, we could say this is one shape, right? I feel like this would be a single shape no matter what amount of detail you're going for. Roughly that shape. But if we were to oversimplify, then that shape would be extended over here. If you guys are not familiar with the concept of shapes, it's basically a bounding. It's a bounding box that depicts three-dimensional forms in a two-dimensional object. And the reason we do this is because we're able to accurately depict the incidence of light as well as to try and give us some little nitpitty information about the materials that we are portraying on the canvas. So that's the kind of idea that we're going for. So depending on exactly how much I want to add detail, which is not going to be too much because it's going to be just maybe 30 to 45 minutes, maybe I simplify or overcomplicate the face. But again, when you're painting, always simplify when you can, so we're going to simplify. Nagi, how's it going? Can't say with lovely face, gotta get to work, hope you have the best stream. Don't worry about it, thank you so much. Go follow Nagi if you do not know her already, the matron saint of the Cuttlefish crew. Always make my day, make your day, make my day. There we go, that's the one. You always make my day with your presence. I have to reorganize. I haven't been speaking English all that much in my day-to-day life because I'm back home, so most of my my discourse is in different weird hoots and whistles. But hey, I manage still. Hopefully I'm marginally as articulate. Okay, so the same way when it comes to lights and darks, we can simplify. So this little orange, warm, beautiful glow, we can see that same value all around here. So we're going to be painting that and probably use the exact same value for this glow as well. I'll just hue shift it towards the green. But again, there's a whole bunch of simplification, and this is a very, very important thing to notice, because when we simplify, we're able to just use the most that we can out of the things that we pick in our selector, because it does take time. So going here, picking a color and then painting it, and then going here, picking another color and then painting that color, all of that costs you time on the canvas, right? That's time that oftentimes you can't afford, or it's just a waste of time, right? Much better is to kind of figure out in your head exactly where you want to have certain kinds of values and then simplify. It's a great exercise, and it really, really cuts down your work time. So if you know exactly what you're drawing and the values associated with certain areas, so let's say I designed a suit of armor and I knew exactly what planes, for example, depending on the construction, will be pointing a certain direction, then it is my duty as an artist to say, okay, these are all front-facing planes, so I'm going to use the same value in every front-facing plane. So it makes a lot of sense, and it makes me painting armor a lot quicker. So what do I mean by that? Well, it goes back to that fundamental idea of armor in general. So how do we paint armor? How do I make something look metallic? Metallic usually implies a couple of things, the primary one being reflectiveness. So metals are way more reflective than just about everything else that we paint, generally speaking, in metallic scenes, because that's going to be the centerpiece. But the idea is that there is somewhere in this background, there's a light source that's approximately, it's forward and then back towards the viewer, and that's what's creating this. So the main thing to realize is that if this was, for instance, somebody's forehead, this light would be dispersed across his forehead, but because it's reflective, it wants us to see the source of the light. If there was a circular light source, if there was like a torch or something, I would see a very, very elongated circle here. Over here, I think it's more like a tubular light source over there, but that's the kind of idea you should be thinking about, right? And the metal doesn't just reflect light sources. Well, it does, but your concept of light sources has to be slightly expanded, because imagine there was something orange just way in the distance and you were painting a person. Well, that orange is not going to have too much of a direct effect on the piece because skin is matte, so it's not going to reflect that value. However, with armor being reflective, even that bounce light off of that particular object in the scene, it's going to have an effect. So invariably, there's probably another suit of armor somewhere in the front of this suit of armor, and it has like some sort of gilding, or it's somewhat warm, or it's in warm light, and that's what's creating this over here. And you're able to positionally identify what's in the background. So one of the greatest things when painting armor is to realize that there's so many things populating the scene, and that's what gives you your interest when it comes to the armor. It's really important, because if nothing was in this scene, if there was absolutely nothing, then you wouldn't have nearly enough, or not nearly enough, but you wouldn't have any amounts of detail on the piece, right? You would just have singular light up here, and then you probably have a bunch of darkness down here. Everything would be dark. But because there's so many light sources, at least significant enough for it to have an effect on the armor, that gives us all of this beautiful medley of colors that are interspersed across the armor surface. That's really cool. And one of the best things when it comes to painting armor. So this can be amplified somewhat in your own work by just kind of recognizing what's in my scene, because you're going to be the one that's designing the scene. So you'd say, okay, there's a pillar over there with a brassiere on it, and the brassiere's orange light's going to hit the shoulder of the armor, right? And there's a direct skylight that's cool coming from a window that's going to hit the top of my armor. And just two of these is enough to make a fantastic looking armor piece. And that's really what we want to focus on. That's armor, one of the most fundamental, crucial aspects of painting armor well. It's just considering your surrounding and considering the armor as not just a surface that responds to the light, but also consider it as a reflective surface. So it's not just telling you vague information about your light source direction, it is telling you quite specific information. That's really, really important. Right? So if this armor was in, and I'll show you this really quickly, but if this armor was in, for example, just in regular outside conditions, for instance, like look at this painting that we did a while ago. Like, why is this armor so stained blue? Well, the armor itself is most likely it's gone through the thermal process of bluing, which is something that happens, by the way. Armor, when you heat it to a certain temperature, not white hot or red hot, but you heat it to a certain temperature and it cools down, it tends to hue shift. So a lot of historical armors are actually, they're somewhat purple or somewhat blue, depending on how they were temperature treated. So it is probably local color blue, which is why you have such intense blues. But what's actually happening here? Well, this is the sun in the sky, because this is a spherical mirror. So there's a sun in the sky, and then you have the beautiful blue sky around it, right? And then you probably have some orange. So this orange over here is the sand that's reflecting off the bottom, and it's hitting the gauntlet. And how do I know this? Because this is a downward facing plane, that's a downward facing plane. You know, there's probably some orange in the front of him, and there's some blue all above him. So all you have to think about when painting armor is think about, okay, fine, what is this particular plane facing? And then you have to put the corresponding light source color. This is my primary light source, that's my diffuse light source, that's my bounce source. And I'll have, you know, more and more sources depending on the complexity of your drawing, right? And that's the idea. So you would do this for anything, is the thing. You would do this for anything that you paint. You would consider the plane, the light source, and that's how you get your value. But it matters doubly, triply when it comes to armor, because that gives you opportunity to add such incredible amounts of saturation and value variance. And that's why armor, you can simplify armor as, okay, there's going to be a crazy amount of light next to a crazy amount of dark, but why? That's because when you consider a light source in an environment, it's usually the light source itself is crazy light compared to everything else around it, which is why you have intense contrast shifts, because it's reflecting what it sees. Does that make any sense? That's armor right there. That's the most important thing. There's like legitimately there's nothing more important when it comes to painting armor or painting any reflectance. So hopefully that made some sense. Jets, how's it going? Snake, how's it going, dude? Good to see you. Hope you all are having a good day. Alright, so that's a bit of a breakdown on armor, one of the most important things, at least in my mind. I've painted a lot of armor, and I wanted to confirm certain things. So there's a great artist named Saboteur, who paints a lot like me actually, but a lot more advanced than me. He had an armor tutorial, and I downloaded it off Gumroad, and he had almost exactly the same things to say about armor that I did, which is really reassuring. Because oftentimes I don't defer to my own opinions when it comes to things, but I've drawn enough armor to know a little bit about it, and it turns out that it's got some professional veracity to it, which is good. Alright, take a swig of water, and then we'll paint this. References, as always, can be found in the Discord. Also, if I have the Imgur link, maybe I could just pop it in the chat. That real quick. Those are the reps. Paint along if you can. Alright. 3, 2, 1, and we go. You gotta just be nimble, man. You can't ever just wait. I make that mistake way too often. I wait too much, you know? I know I never make it on stream, but off stream sometimes I'm less than like ready to get into a piece sometimes. But you can't let that happen. You gotta just jump into it. Doesn't matter if it's non-ideal conditions. Sometimes, in fact, you surprise yourself just how much you're able to thrive in a non-ideal environment. Just make the plunge, and you'll figure out everything from there. Can't be paralyzed by inaction. Happens to us far too often. So I'm gonna just set up this background ever so quickly. I see mild amounts of desaturation that I'll just paint in. Just subtle little hints towards it. I don't exactly know the perfect values, nor do I really care about it. Just kind of give me a little bit of a hint towards what is in store for the piece. I'm using a new brush pack from Krita, from the Krita devs in fact. They did a bunch of experimentation to find some very traditional looking brushes, so I'm using the oil pack right now. And yeah, hopefully if you guys enjoy what you see, perhaps you would consider purchasing it yourself, because it's not free. But hey, I mean, that's why people donate money, because they want to see this, they want to see what's possible. So I'll make sure I'll try my darnest to give this pack a run for its money. So you'll be seeing me use this for the foreseeable future. So I started with just priming the canvas with some amounts of paint. I don't know if anything's going to really stay from my initial little strokes there, but the idea is just give me an idea, get me into the feel, and also to like locally prime things around the canvas. Now, arguably I've already done too much, alright? Arguments can easily be made that, okay, well, you put too many strokes down. That's a big waste of time. But I like to just get into it, get into the mood of it, just a little bit. So I won't be doing this for the next few studies, but for the first one, even though I have painted all day, for the first one I'm just going to do a little bit of a gear change, let's say. Okay, so now I have everything generally speaking. So now I just want to get that first line. You see that hesitation right there? That's what I want to try and avoid. I don't want to see that hesitation, but it's there. Well, what can we do except go with the flow? So I want to just quickly block out this armor. Now the proportions aren't super important, but they are somewhat important, right? They are somewhat important. So let's just prevent ourselves from going crazy. And the most important thing at the end of this is for us to be able... This already seems a little bit large for the canvas, don't you think? So let's just quickly... Do I want to do that in a separate layer? Nah, it seems disingenuous. So rather than that, what we'll do is this. Let me block out where I want the entire body to go, and then I'll place that head. That seems way easier. So nice little deliberate strokes at the very beginning. Don't have to go crazy, but just some information is sufficient. What's really going to sell this as armor is, like I said, the reflectives that we're going to put in quite early. And beyond that, what's going to sell it is those beautiful dark shapes in between. Will really tell us what we're looking at. Okay, so again, just quickly block things out. Your best friend at this stage is going to be your negative shape. So seeing your negatives, your shapes between shapes, is going to save you just an unimaginable amount of time. So if you're good with the negatives, then drawing and doing your blocking is kind of dirty is always going to benefit. It went a bit dark there towards the top, so I just shifted to a lighter color. Arguably, I should have shifted to a lighter warm. That was a mistake. The reason being is that, you know, everything that you do on the canvas is going to have an impact one way or the other, especially when you're painting with copious amounts of texture. So the idea is that you're going to have to live with your decisions. So if I line this out with white, for example, even if I paint over it, I'm invariably going to miss something on the canvas. I'll miss something on the other somewhere on the canvas, and then that white's going to bleed through and it's going to kill my value structure, and I hate that. I do not want that to happen. So we gotta take a few little steps here. We can't go too quickly now, can't be negligent. And that over there, that's a sign of negligence, having that light value be too desaturated. We cannot be negligent. Okay, so I have my basic block in. I will do one additional thing here, which is I want to give myself a little bit of context as to where certain things go. So I'll add just a couple of other things. So at this stage is where I will draw my majority shapes. So I have a few of them. We'll just start marking them out. So I have a majority shape across the chin. Now the way that you simplify is going to be entirely up to you. I'll do some larger simplifications just because, you know, I'm probably going to have less time than most people to do this, because I'm going to handle chat and everything. But just some larger simplifications just to give myself a little bit of a head start when it comes to painting. So this is again part of the blocking process. The blocking in does not mean outlining. Blocking in means you're trying to do just the bare minimum amount to make sure that your painting phase goes successfully. Because while you're painting, you can't really think too much about proportion. Well, you can, of course, you can just paint alla prima and then, you know, you're a god among men. But when it comes to best practices, to be able to do something consistently and do it effectively, regardless of the reference, then sometimes it is kind of important for you to just think a little bit about those portions. Alright, so I think that's sufficient. I'm going to 5 minutes into the piece. Let's start blocking in some large values. So again, there's some very simple logic with our initial strokes, right? Because we want to cover this thing with paint. I'll actually duplicate this layer because I want to verify my process later on. But the idea is this. Some areas towards the right are dark and some areas towards the left are lighter. Okay, so we start with this basic understanding. And just about everything, well, this highlight over there, it does tend towards a warm, and the shadow also tends towards a warm with a cool little rim light right there. But I'm going to say that this over there is going to be warmer than this, and it's going to be my logic for my colors. Then, like I said, I'll start dark, and I'll start filling this with paint. I'll go even darker. Because, again, I have that context from the background, right? So I can do this. If I didn't have that background, then perhaps I would just stick with this value. Let's go with a bit of red there, maybe. We'll just start putting in some strokes. Again, we can be... Let's just add has to be a bit lighter than that. Maybe a bit darker. So again, I won't be fussing with anything. Like I said, reuse, reuse, reuse whenever you can. Always reuse. Reusing that real quick. And then we'll mix this up in a nice dark value. So we're just simply going to arrive at an understanding here. This seems a little bit dead and desaturated, and I don't want it to be. I kind of want it to have a little bit of life to it. This darkness. Right? So there's no issue really having no saturation in your darks. It's more of a question of taste. Some of the greatest artists of all time have used straight black in their paintings, as much as people would like to poop with the idea of using blacks and using whites in a painting. It is an effective process, and people can indeed use that successfully. However, it does end up looking a little bit different. Like I said, this is going to be lighter, so I will paint it lighter. It's a little bit of a tough decision right there to pick what goes underneath, so I'm not going to be too specific, because most likely I will have to somewhat repaint that to a certain degree, but it's fine. I can say that this value over here underneath is going to be somewhat relatable. As is this value over here. And by relatable, I mean those values are kind of closely situated, right? And grab my dark value from over there. Let's just put that in there real quick. Easy peasy. Okay, so now I need to start building up some direct colors. And now we start to make some rather important decisions in the piece. So the first one is to find that beautiful, beautiful yellow, right? That ochreish, orangish yellow color. I think that's a beautiful color. So I'll just start putting it a little bit, just to kind of hint at where it might go in the future. But I need something majority underneath this, just to kind of give me an idea of what I'm looking at. It does tend towards a little bit of the green, right? As it go a bit more forward. And we know for a fact that this is objectively lighter than this. So with that logic, this is a dark and this is a light. So we can paint this as a little bit of a base color. And of course we might have to add some caveats to this. This value is comparable to, let's say, that value over there. So we can put that value over there. Again, I want to tone this to a bit of a red maybe. That doesn't seem right. A bit of this color. I want it to be hyper specific. So again, like I said, I'm not going to be crazy specific with my decisions. If I like something, I'll choose it. If I don't, I can always paint over it. At this stage, we are not getting into any detail whatsoever. We're just having some fun splishing and splashing some paint around the canvas. Okay. So those lights are going to cut out some shapes and the darks are going to cut out some shapes. Again, the entire piece is going to look like there's no light on it whatsoever, because we are yet to add in that beautiful specular, which is going to really define the light source in this piece. Let's just put that in real quick, shall we? How about that? Not particularly the desired effect, right? But the thing is, we have to build upon things. Remember that painting is going to be layers and layers and layers eventually, so we can't just take things at face value. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a hint as to where that goes. And also, I might go a little bit more specific here just to indicate that little strap right there. And again, I have a value on my brush and I want to put it into areas where I think it deserves to go. Again, this is just a good practice. It saves a bunch of time later on. So whenever you get, so I'm not even doing it everywhere that I can. So I could be doing this a lot more efficiently. But I'm not. But again, be better than me. So I might know the concept, but again, applying it is a whole different scenario. I would love to burn in some of these values, by the way, but again, I don't have access to my burn brush in this workflow, and that's perfectly fine because I want to see what it looks like without, right? That's the idea. So this is dull ochreish value that's surrounding the armor towards the front. It's a dull ochreish value that's somewhat comparable. So I can bring this red over here as a mid-tone, right? But I want to get that ochreish value kind of sorted out before I proceed. And I know the values around similarly situated to that. It's just mildly desaturated. And I'll push the greens a bit more. How about that? Now we'll just paint that in a few areas. Areas where we think it should potentially go. Punta, how's it going, dude? Finally, JJ's ASMR voice. I appreciate you, dude. How's everything been going for you? Okay, so I generally tend towards the lighter over here. And again, big decisions here. So I'm going to push this into a cool, right there, push that into a majority cool. Bit too strong, so we'll push that down a bit more. Like I said, I want to still maintain some degree of harmony, because at this stage we're painting very messily, very dirtily, but the idea is that we want to maintain harmony on the piece. We can always disrupt it later on. Good idea to just maintain it at the current stage. It's a lovely little green, a bit too strong for my taste, however, so we'll get that down, just to make things fit All we have to do is adjust the value, and we got to adjust the saturation, right? Got a nice, lovely stroke in there. It's slowly coming together. Beautiful. Okay. So we can round out the armor. You see how similar that and that is? Look at that and that on the canvas. Very similar, right? So ideally, if we got this right, we got this right. But the thing is, I know that it's slightly darker in the reference, so I'll pick the value that's right next to it and eventually have to darken up that value. I hope that makes some sense, by the way. So I see this value over here, and I think it's a little bit too light compared to the reference. You see how this almost blends into this? So we'll make a slight little change here, even though it goes somewhat against our policy. Make a little bit of a change. Bring that down there. And to get something for a second, I missed the ASMR. Can you do it again? No, he just means me talking. He means me talking is the ASMR. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Iris. Okay, there's a beautiful, beautiful red little hue on the very top. You see that? So pretty. Of course, that's a little bit of a detail, but allow me to indulge myself a little bit, right? Gotta indulge myself a little bit on the canvas. Again, remember, we're thinking lighter. We're thinking lighter when it comes to these areas over here. So lighter towards the left, darker towards the right. Very simple understanding and breakdown of the piece, right? It's almost too simple, right? So I can't stick with this idea for too long because it doesn't hold in a lot of cases. But as long as I can hold it, I will hold it, right? This over here, I've picked it as overwhelmingly cool. That might be a mistake in hindsight. So I'm gonna just throw a bunch of grays in there just to kind of cut it down. Because when things look a bit too uncoordinated when it comes to the temperature, I'll just tone it down a little bit. How about that? Already looking quite cool. Okay, so again, do a gross little assessment, right? We blur the eyes and ask yourself some questions. So the question number one is, do I like the temperature of the darkness? Yes, I do. I like that warmness, so that's fine. I will maintain that. Question number two, are we missing some very, very primary values? Yes, indeed we are, right? Do you see this one over here? It's a beautiful darkness down there. So I missed this, right? If you were better than me, you would not have missed that. And I will be better than me. And you will too. Right? So we put that value down there. Same thing goes over here. Now comes the fun part, right? Now we have almost the entire canvas covered with something or the other. We'll get there for a second. Just give me a little bit of time. We will get there to everything being covered. And then we can start to play with a whole bunch of these ideas. It's going to be really fun. Because once we have everything down and everything covered, it becomes so much more monumentally easier for us to make changes. And then that's the fun part, making the change, just bringing the painting to a finish. But until then, it's all up to us to kind of figure out an understanding by ourselves, right? Nobody's going to hand us an understanding. We got to build it up by ourselves. And that's fine. We are well suited for the task. We will be able to. I can't read my my brush names, by the way, so I had to like do 15 checks to figure out which brush I have in my palette because my chat's covering my brushes. That's fine. It's a minor gripe. I'll figure it out. It's not going to cost me too much time. Okay, that's the brush that I wanted, I believe, but not the value that I wanted. How about this? Oh, cool. How sick does that look? Neat. Again, a bit of a detail, but who cares? I woke up early one morning when you were doing a super serious work stream, when you weren't talking, and not more than 30 minutes passed, you began narrating your process like it was a regular stream. It made me smile. Yeah, I can't help it. Unfortunately, it's so ingrained into my... Because it's what's happening in my head, right? Constantly. Always have to check and double check. Just have that inner monologue running. Ooh, that stroke was just done so poorly. I'm very disappointed with myself. My ancestors are ashamed of that stroke. Are we okay? Okay, so again, large groups of value. And now we're slowly building up on an understanding of the piece, right? So we're not just picking from our visual, like picking visually from the reference, but we're picking from our canvas. And that's when things get kicked into high gear, right? That's when things really start to rumble and shake onto your piece. When you start making some big changes. So until that point, you're just trying to you're playing second fiddle basically to the reference. But once it gets kicked into high gear, then you can start making those advancements, man. Start making those big, I can't say big dick energy when Iris is in the stream, but you get that big artist energy. Beautiful. Just slowly but surely building up an understanding. Oh, I like that texture. So cool. Very nice. So I'm not going crazy with these speculars anymore, by the way. I'm not going crazy. I'm establishing a relative local value, much like a Cesar Santos painting, right? Establishing some idea of local value, but we're not flooring it, right? Because I don't really know if I'm happy with certain temperatures. I don't really know if I'm happy with certain values. But I gotta get to the point, right? I gotta get to the point where I'm happy with the way that things are coordinating with themselves, or coordinating. Coordinating? How do you enunciate that? Coordinating? There's got two O's in there, that double syllabic madness. Look, you try doing my job, alright? It's not easy. Speaking of not easy, I have no idea where the brush I'm searching for is, because again, I can't read it. I'm sure it's somewhere over here, I'll find it. You just gotta trust in yourself sometimes. Are you my value? I guess not. Are you my brush? No, you aren't. Are you my? Oh, you might actually be my brush. Hell yeah. It's hard to tell when they're so big as well. See, all the time that I saved trying to figure out the color simplifications, I'm gonna waste it thinking about all these brushes. But it's fine. It's part of the fun. I'm gonna choose a light, beautiful, desaturated red value. I'm gonna put in these little beautiful hints of the armor towards the side. Why? Because it makes me happy. And also because it's gonna add some boundary condition to the piece. And this piece is in sore need of boundary condition, let me tell you. So the boundary condition is going to be established by my specular highlights and my occlusion shadows. And of course my casts as well. But the idea is that I have a bunch of things in the paint, a bunch of paints on my canvas, but I need to know exactly where everything goes now, because there's a danger right now. There's a very, very large danger in the piece that if I keep doing things arbitrarily, I will lose sight on exactly what I'm painting. There is a very, very large danger of that. As with every painting, right? So you start with the lines, you start putting the paint on, you get rid of the lines, and then eventually you're painting and painting and painting. There is a certain intrinsic risk with that, wherein you're no longer painting the same thing, because you made minor change after minor change, and suddenly you're not quite sure where you are. So it's good to just take a bit of a step back, especially because there's barely any lines on this to begin with, and reassess and think to myself, okay, well, am I doing what I need to be doing? It's good to think about it. Okay, so let's put a little bit of this light on here and make some large changes. I feel like could easily be making some larger changes to this, but I am not. So let's make some larger changes. Of course, there's going to be some amount of inherent trepidation when it comes to the idea of being fast and loose with the pack that I'm not familiar with. But that I say knee. We must fight on. Okay. Let's keep it nice and simple, right? We are lacking some fundamental information, so we need to put in that fundamental information. So let's first do a little bit of value adjustment, push that into the greens, and we're going to use the same value down here, because we want to say that this particular plate is going to be facing down in that particular area. And of course there's this beautiful medley of worms right there. How will we introduce those worms? Do I have a brush that'll help me with this? Something that isn't as impactful on the canvas? There you go, that's my man. So since it's not as impactful, I can totally up the saturation here. I can bring in some of those vibrant colors that I'm missing on the piece, right? And this will be my way out of this desaturated soup that we're in right now. You always gotta have ways out of the soup. This canvas looks dangerously the same size. Fair enough, it's true. But I'm sitting really far away from my computer, if that makes you feel better. But it is correct. Good note. Get that down there. Thank you, sir. Alright. It is one of those best practices. You can't really bullshit your way out of that. Avoid that sight sizing, ladies and gentlemen. In that sight sizing dies our visual accuracy. Alright, so continuing. What Jets is saying is that when you have the reference the same size as your piece, sometimes it can be very, very easy to start picking and placing proportions. Unfortunately, my proportion stage ended about 20 minutes ago. Well, 15. But it is still well spotted. Rectamundo right there. Okay, so we slowly start to paint over. We're building up that understanding, but look at what we have already. Isn't that cool? So we're not getting that oomph that we need. That oomph is lacking because we don't have that horribly hard-hitting specular just yet, and we don't have that beautiful, beautiful cool shadow. that's bringing up the rear. But we will have these things. We will have them, I say. All right, just gotta give it a bit of time. A bit of time, let these colors get to know each other a bit better. Let's build up a little bit of a better understanding on the piece, and then we can start hitting hard with that value. And it's good to know that it's coming, right? It's good to know. It's reassuring for the painter to know it's coming, because it's easy to look at a piece with incomplete and despair. It's easy to despair, but trust in your process, trust in yourself, and eventually you will find your way out of most predicaments. Of course, when it comes to sometimes things might just be wrong on your canvas, and in that case, it's up to you to say, okay, things are wrong. And now this is the biggest mistake. If something is wrong on a canvas, do not, by heavens, do not keep painting over the same canvas. Get rid of it, or revert it, or simplify it, right? Do any of these things. Under no circumstance should you continue to just paint. Don't paint and paint and overfix and overfix and overfix. This is the death of most paintings. Right? Ultimately, what you're going to be ending up with is going to be so, even if it's accurate, it's going to be so hyper polished that it loses any life that it had to begin with. And there is where many paintings will die. You gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with these kind of things. You can never let it win. Okay, let's craft in darkness real quick. Excuse me, sir, why are you doing this? You're clearly look at my color selector and look at the value that's being painted. What's happening? What is this? Oh, it's at the very end of it. Oh, that's kind of cool. I don't even know what I'd use that for, but that's kind of cool. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing there. That's not too bad. Okay. That's such a strange brush. I have no idea what I would use that for. It's loaded just at the very tip. That's kind of interesting. Okay, well, the more you know, I guess. I'm gonna slightly stain this as a warm. Ooh, I don't like that. I want this to be a beautiful, like a warm stain, right? You guys like those warm stains? Let's just stop talking real quick. And then we'll restart it right now. Wait, can you say that one more time? Say what? The whole death of painting star rate? Bring back. Now we can start hitting, you know? Now we can start hitting because we have some real estate. Right? We've worked for this real estate on our canvas, and now we can start to really, really use it. It's fun. That's the fun part. Use this beautiful, beautiful real estate that we've built up over the course of the last 23 minutes. And we can start. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know there was a mixer brush kind of thing in here. I can make nice fuzzy shapes. That's cool. Let's do a little bit of that. We'll have some fun. This is like the break time for the piece. Have a little bit of fun. Gonna toss a little bit of paint around, you know? Just be a chimp for a little bit. And then we can go back to our regularly scheduled painting in a second. There we go. I kind of like that. I don't think I did anything significant, but it's good to know that's there. It is good to know it's there. I feel better as a person knowing that's there. Okay, now I start hitting with my specular, okay? Now remember, speculars cannot be just arbitrary. You can't chimp out and put a random value there. What you have to do is to consider the light source. The light source is a warm. So see what I'm putting down there? That's a warm, right? I'm not doing this. I'm doing this, and there is a difference, right? If I do this, that's too cool. It's killing my value structure. This is aiding my value structure, okay? It's important, man. People forget this. I forget this all the time. I'm like, okay, highlight, put a white there. No, hell no. The white's important. You can use the white later on, but you gotta leave some room for it, man. This is not the time to add some whites to your canvas. Come on. Have some goddamn respect for yourself. Don't keep painting over the mistake, something. Okay, so the idea is that when you make something that you know is clearly wrong, don't make minor changes. Just straight up, you know, make a new layer or duplicate it or whatever you need to do, you know, to save your conscience. Just duplicate it and then just paint completely over it, like not just the affected region, but basically every region around it. So you just paint that just straight over and you start again. So starting again and iterating over something is infinitely better than trying to make minor corrections, because you're going to be making minor corrections till the end of time if you allow yourself to. But the idea is that, for example, if I didn't like the plates over here, I wouldn't do this, right? I wouldn't say, okay, we'll get rid of this and we'll put this over here. I wouldn't do that. What I would do is this. Or this, you know, what I would do is that. I would paint over just about everything in that area. And it's a strong practice. Really, really strong practice. But I'm all for using the power of digital and, you know, allowing yourself to make minor changes, but this is just, it's painting 101 fundamental, like you cannot allow yourself to do that. Overworking something is death. Just gots to be careful, man. I don't really like that too much. Again, use the understanding, right? So this area is oriented similar to this area because it all forms a rough sphere, which means that they're going to share a very similar value. So even though I might tend to push this little value more towards the warm, let's add a tinge of saturation to it, that value must still be the same. Cannot change. That's the idea, right? So again, strong logical painting. That's important. Because the more we're able to justify the stroke, the easier it is going to be to finish this painting and to do it in a decent amount of time. Bob, how's it going, dude? Good to see you. Having a good day. Thank you for the compliment. Do you like armor? Again, it's curving slightly towards that direction, which means we can start using some of our own little paint here, our own little understanding. Let's start using that. Because certain things are going to be oriented in certain ways, which means that some things will share in their understanding. Some values will share in their understanding. So if this is pointed in this direction, this is also pointed in this direction because of structure, and the value must support it. That's the idea. The value has to support it. Because it has to make sense. Even if we aren't experts in armor, we are visual creatures, right? We do take note of this, whether we actively do it or not, which is how somebody is able to tell something looks wrong or right. Right? I mean, you might not understand exactly why it looks wrong or right, but you will know. Right? You will know in your heart of hearts. You will know that it is right or wrong. So I'm going to put this highlight in here with a bit of a harder brush, which I'm searching for. Like I said, this is a new brush pack, so I am hunting for stuff, which does cost me time, but hey, it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind bleeding time for this. That's a nice hard little brush right there. I think you'll do me just fine. So let's paint you in here. Let's put you in here beautifully and strongly. You see that? Nice, beautiful specular understanding. That specular is really what sells it, right? That harshness. The reason it's that harsh, the reason we can almost blow it out to the white, is because of the fact that armor is reflective. Like I said, when you're painting armor, that's the most important thing you can ever do while painting an armor, or painting any sort of armor. It's the idea that it's gonna really truly tell you what your source is like, right? If this was a person's head, for example, it would give you some information about the source. It would say, okay, my source is vaguely in the top right direction, maybe, because I can see a shadow on the nose, I can see a highlight on the nose, I can vaguely say where the source is. An armor set, a mirror, water that's still, all of these things will give you much more intricate information about the position of your light source in your piece. It's gonna give you so much more. And that's really that's the clincher right there. That's the difference between good and bad armor. That and how you manage your values, right? Because you're gonna have some ridiculous darks and some ridiculous lights. Again, because of what we just talked about earlier, right? Because if I said that things are going to have this kind of true depiction, imagine your light source being truly depicted. Somebody can walk out into the sun, but unless your exposure is completely fucked, right? If you take a picture of somebody in the sun's not going to be the same value as the person, right? In like a sunny day, for example, far from. They're not going to be the same value. Armor, however, there's a chance. There's easily a chance that the armor is going to be the same value as your light source. Right? Some armors are locally valued lower. There's a whole bunch of processes involved in making armor and in coloring armor, right? Like I said before, there's a thermal process in armor that allows you to locally color it and maybe dim it to more of a red or more of a blue, something like that, right? There's a process that involves, it is possible to do something like that. So when you heat armor to something like 600 degrees Celsius and let it cool down, or maybe it's Fahrenheit, I always get the two confused, and then let it cool down, what happens after that is it'll retain this beautiful bluish hint, this tint of blue. Again, that value there was way too desaturated. I want to keep the background nice and warm. But the idea is that armor can be locally tinted, but again, armor is armor, right? A thing is a thing, which has a logic. And that logic dictates that, okay, if you have a light source, I'm going to tell you where the light source is. So this is a bit of a dilemma for me in this piece, because I want that like, that little fringe over there, I want it to be clearly defined. So I can do it in one of two ways. Either one, I can leave it like this, the way it is right now. Alternatively, I can do it this way, which is I outline it with dark, as it needs to be in the reference, like that, and I leave a sliver of this beautiful glow value. I leave it as just a bit of an outline, right? Which do you think looks better? This certainly looks interesting, right? I can't tell objectively right now. Let's say fuck it, since I already painted it, we'll just leave it there. But I can't really say, honestly, at this stage, what to call it. Add a little bit of that maybe. The rim light, yep. The rim light is a great suggestion. Really amp that up as well. That is a true. Let me just add a little bit of canvas texture here because I don't want to kill. The thing is, like, if there's such a crazy hard shape in the background, it's going to draw attention. It's a very peculiar thing, right? If everything is kind of messy on your piece, but you have this perfectly pristine square in the background, it's kind of funny that you would look at the square. Let's just use Bob's idea again. Let's just bring up that saturation. See, I'm not going to be painting a white there. I'll be painting a beautiful, beautiful. Decent red. And then fix a couple of these value errors that are somewhere over here. Make sure things are nice and tight. How cool does that look, man? That looks so fucking cool. Hell yeah. I'm gonna do some hocus pocus. Didn't we find like a blur brush somewhere before? We found like something that could play with color. Is it this one? I don't think it is. Is it this one? This might actually be it. I think that's it. Let's play with these colors. I just want to smear it up a little bit. I don't want it to be perfect. That's okay. Well, that's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool effect. You see that kind of blurriness? That's neat. Let's leave that one there. I want some incidental stuff in the canvas. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. I want a little bit of like incidental, not specifically painted areas of interest. I'll do another one right here. So I'll paint it in kind of roughly, and we'll bring in a beautiful. Let's just hue shift that as well. I don't want to just paint the same value again and again. Let's slightly hue shift that because we're in the stage where we need to be thinking a little bit more actively about color, right? We can't just be painting a desaturated mess, and there is some color on the canvas. There we go. And of course, we always have the liberty of messing it up later on, right? We can mess it up if we want to. As a bit of an addendum, right here, since this is bottom facing, and we have this whole understanding of bottom means warm in this piece, I will amp it up. So what does that mean? If you want to show a light source is stronger, you A, increase the value, so move down, B, increase the saturation, so you move over here, right? And we get this value instead. A little bit stronger, right? A little bit stronger. And it gives me a bit more information. See how beautiful that looks? Kind of cool, right? Maybe the application was a bit botched, but the idea is correct. There we go. Beautiful. That stroke should have happened way earlier, by the way. In terms of the hierarchy or the priority of strokes, that stroke should have happened way earlier in the piece. At least IMO, it should have happened a lot earlier. I messed up my ordering there. It doesn't matter ordering because you gotta realize this is one layer, so. Lauren, how's it going? Good to see you. I hope you're having a good day. Okay, again, this is going to be a beautiful lost edge, so let's just lose the edge, man. We don't gotta paint this edge. We really don't have to. People, I mean, it's easy to fixate on certain edges, but we don't have to paint everything. Lost edges are important in paintings, man. We gotta put that stuff in there. There's little opportunities for the eye to be led off the canvas. These kind of things are important. Richard Schmidt, one of your primary great painters of our age, he says that the artist must do some of the work, but the viewer must also do some of the work, and I agree. I do wholeheartedly agree, sir. So we gotta manage our edges here. So there's gonna be a lot of soft edges down here, but this, your boy right here, that is an area of interest, right? So we have to ask ourselves a big question. Do I sharpen that edge up? It is an important question as well, because we've done a lot of conflict resolution on this little, this chin plate or whatever you call that, the face plate. I should know what that's called, by the way, because I've studied anatomy of armor before. I feel really stupid. I didn't pay attention, I guess, to the names. But yeah, we're gonna have to harden this up, right? So do I have some hard brushes here that I can use? How about this? How about this? How about this? You're okay. Actually, the last one was okay. So I'll harden up with that. That's mostly what I think about when I paint, by the way. It's just mostly edges. I don't really care about the brush. Is that an improvement or not, is the question? I kind of like the way it was before. Not gonna lie. Because I like how loose it is. But again, I am loose to a fault. Tell that to my girlfriend as well. And I think I like the way it is. Michael, how's it going, dude? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good day. Let's impregnate this over here with a bit of beautiful red because I wanted to match what's below it. Because this red's it's not on my canvas, it's not on my reference rather. So it has to have some relationship with the piece. Because having this be the only red color like that on my entire canvas, that's going to raise some red flags to the viewer. They're going to be like, wait a second, what? What's that doing there? So it's important to reuse, man. Important to reuse. In reality, we wouldn't care too much about it, but On a canvas, things have to coordinate. The realm of possibilities on a canvas are somewhat limited. I think that's worth understanding. So if it is indeed, it's slightly limited in our abilities, we gotta just go a little bit down with it, right? Go a little bit more simplified. I'm thinking about how to get this little beautiful effect over there. I know I could easily do this with my other brushes, but I'm trying to find out a solution which involves me using brushes that are just on this particular brush set, right? Because we are using a new brush set. I think the solution is going to be this. Use a smaller version of this brush, most likely. Just want to add these little streaks in there. Beautiful little streaks. But realize that these streaks also offer me a bit of an opportunity to define armor. Because remember there's a big line there. So while I put these streaks in, I have to be a little bit concerned about exactly what I'm defining with them. And hopefully that gives me a bit of an opportunity. We'll give the little big source right over here. Let's push you more towards the blue. I don't like you being purple. More to the blue. I don't like you being purple again. There we go. You're okay. You're okay. The reason is that this piece isn't about purples too much, right? It's about deep reds, deep yellows, and this beautiful blue on the side. Lower visor? We could lower the visor, yeah, but I don't think the proportions really break in the piece for me. I think I'm okay with it. If that's what you meant. But I will indeed address a little bit of a problem here, which is put a little bit of that darkness in there. Because it's neat. It's a neat little darkness, I like it. Let's put in a little bit of intrigue. And by intrigue I just mean a couple of strokes for a couple of folks that happen to look down there. And if I do my job right, they don't look down there. But here's a problem with that, right? Here's a problem with that, what I just said. Why wouldn't they look down there when the edge is so hard? Because hard edge means look at me. Soft edge means look somewhere else, right? So we soften it up. Gotta soften that edge up a little bit. There we go, much better. What's more, let's make a little bit of an addendum there. Let's slightly warm that up, shall we? I want to warm that up a little bit. Because I see that little bit of an orange play right there. I want to bring some of that orange down here as well. This might be a bit too much of a little change, right? That doesn't really matter, like a little shade change. But it's fine, man. It's fine. Indulge me for a second. It's going well, Michael. Let's get this armor study done. Having a lot of fun with it. Ooh, this little piggy over here. This little piggy over here is being a little bit messy. Because I have not done it justice. Because it is not that it is one single object, it is two objects. It's a visor that goes like that, and then goes down. Okay, so I wasn't looking at it close enough. Now I understand what I'm seeing a bit more. So perhaps I can use that information for my own benefit. Maybe we add a little bit of that line. I need a smaller brush. That's actually pretty good, what I just found. But I don't want it to be too liney is the thing, right? Because too liney can kill the piece, you know? That's actually a legitimate concern. If a line is too small, that would kill like my overall piece, because I have this beautiful painted piece and I have a bunch of lines there for no reason. So if I put a line in one place, I gotta put that line basically everywhere. That's the same amount of rigor, because what the line says is, okay, this amount of detail is possible in my piece, which means suddenly it's a burden upon the artist to say, okay, well, achieve this detail, please, everywhere else. So it's a pretty big decision, honestly it is. Okay, well, let's start upping the speculars here, bring this piece to a finish. So we gotta be a little bit careful, but we don't have to be super careful. At this point, a lot of our job is done. We just have to just resample, resample, and get some of the understanding out of the way. Again, we can start picking values from the visor, because this visor, remember that this head is subject to the same lights as everything else on the canvas, so we can start using some of these values to our own benefit. So I'll grab this red over here, for example. Start using a little bit of it, just to kind of help me round out my forms. And of course, at the same time, so I think I missed a comment from Bob earlier. Let me just go back and read that in a second. Let me just quickly add some of these lights in here. Sorry about that. Light there, light there, light there. Is that too much? Maybe, but how about I substantiate a little bit? Substantiate that light source a little bit. A couple of those strokes. Still looking a little bit awkward, maybe? A little bit awkward, a little bit less integrated. Let's give you a little bit more context then. Because sometimes things need a bit of support. And it is our duty as the artist to support it. With a bit of support, make it look like it belongs there. Give it a home that it can call. And I guess now it works. Alright, just a bit of additional context there. Looks a little bit too infinitesimal of a change if you ask me. But hey, it's okay. Okay, let me pause the timer. What did Bob say? Actually, no, I don't have my Twitch channel on. I can read the latter half of that comment. Pertains to color, I do much better painting values and overlaying the color afterwards when I do digital work. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the idea of painting directly with color as opposed to painting grayscale and then into color. And I do agree. I do like, personally, if you ask my own opinion about it, I do like painting directly in color if given the chance. I very much do like it. I'm gonna add a little bit of these slight little dark divots in certain areas, just to allow me to put some rivets later on. And at this stage I can also go back, add a little bit of these hints of these beautiful warms down there. You see how I just went up there and sampled really quickly to see if it works? Sometimes it doesn't work, you know? Sometimes it doesn't work. And also I'm looking for a lot more softness here, I'm gonna be honest. I'm trying to achieve that softness. Will you give me the softness? Will you give me the softness? Again, it's my unfamiliarity with the... Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's what I want. What is this brush called? Rake something? Okay, I can't read the full thing again because chat's blocking it, but I want to use that in the future. I think it's awesome. I want something that I can just do some really, really subtle... But the thing is, look at this line. It's not very hard, right? That's what I'm really looking for. I don't want a super hard line. Because again, I don't want to draw attention. My focus on this piece is the face. I don't want to draw attention there. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful about what we do. Because every little detail, it begs for attention, it craves it. Gotta be a bit careful when you put that in. Exactly what you're doing. Oh, I love this brush, it's awesome. What is it called again? Where is it? Okay, it's 2 left from my blocking brush. Okay, I will remember it that way. Like I said, it's a new pack, so you will have to excuse me. I have to remember things. Ooh, I see a nice little red value there. Okay, let's just paint that with a bit of a stronger brush. And a bit of a stronger value, and a bit of a redder value. Most of the time when I make a change, or make a change with the color on a piece, I'm doing it in relation to something else, right? I know that there's a baseline somewhere or the other, and I make the change based on that. Like I know that this value is going to be lighter, or darker, or redder, or yellower than another value. Everything is relative. That makes my decisions a lot quicker. Right? Not super quick, I'm no expert, but quicker than they were before, when I was more of an amateur. Right? So perhaps it'll help you as well. If you're having trouble picking up colors a bit quicker, perhaps that will help you. I want to show the form of this plate a bit more. So rather than outline it directly, we'll just simply change the values around it. And at this stage I want to also smear those things that are locally situated. Where's my smear brush? Where's my super suit? You my smear brush? Ah, you'll do. You're fine. You're okay. Don't worry about it. You'll do. You don't have to be my smear brush. You're good enough for today. Okay. Let's toss in just a little bit of specular, just to show our intelligence here. That's what I call it. At the very end of the piece, you kind of show your education a bit. So with this stroke, that's like a college degree right there. This one is like beating Magnus Carlsen in a game of blitz chess. Show a little bit of intelligence. Also, both those strokes were garbage. I'm gonna get rid of both of them because they're absolutely garbage. Let's segment this a little bit more. I had to make myself some food for myself and the tiny child. Well, you could just say child, right? It's tiny. But is it tiny compared to you, though? That's the question. That would mean it's truly tiny, which is worth like mentioning. Ellie is a very small girl, by the way. Is it not familiar? Let's toss in a bit of specular there. That's kind of cool, isn't it? With the little contrast right there with the textures. It's kind of neat. Might be a little bit too much of an eyesore, right? Like a little bit of an eyesore, maybe? But I don't know, I want to keep it. I'm partial to it. I'm very partial to it. I want to keep it. I don't know where this random stroke came in here, but man, do I not like it. It's destroying my beautiful values on my armor. Why would you do such a thing? Ah, whatever. It happens. We cannot be mad about that kind of stuff. Especially when painting on a single layer, man. This kind of stuff is what you sign up for. You sign up for incidental strokes sometimes. What a beautiful warmness right there. It was so lovely. Sickening. Okay. Put a bit of light on there. Maybe desaturate the red. And this would be okay. And okay, now I've got to solidify my position of this being an occlusion by having a nice hard shadow right there. Again, that's what's really going to sell this. Same thing over here. You got to solidify the position of the occlusion by having a nice, clearly red shadow right there. Easy peasy. And then some darkness over here, just to coordinate the piece. Like that. You see that? Those beautiful lights against those beautiful darks, now they're starting to play together. Playing together nice and... Get that same light up here. Just to unify a little bit. Right, and some couple of little opportunities for some lights. A few other areas, maybe up the specular on this bottom one. Okay, now I'm just going to go around and hit a couple of those rivets with that beautiful... What do you think that color is in the rivets? It seems to me like a slightly... Well, so the thing is, let's think about that for a second. These little rivet values, they're comparable to maybe this value over here, not to this value. So let's pick this value and we'll hue shift it to the yellow. That's why we get that value over there. So what did I say just now? I almost forgot. Well, we pick this value and then we... Let's hue shift it slightly more towards the red and get a bit of that color in there, and we'll see what it looks like. It looks like this, I guess. Not very visible, right? I would like to have something slightly harder, maybe, in terms of the brushes, for this to be visible. How about you? Are you okay? Or any of us? No, I don't think you're gonna work. You look really strange when you're that small. What about you? Are you okay? A bit soft, I think. What about you? You okay? You're actually okay. You're okay. You'll work. You'll work. Maybe the saturation needs to be brought down a bit more. Ooh. You, sir, are good, but maybe a little bit too good. So much that you're attracting attention with your presence. I don't think I like that. In certain areas, yes, you were okay, but in other areas, no, you were not. In other areas, you're taking center stage away from my armor, and I don't like that. What am I gonna do with you? Okay, well, let's just paint your brother in for a second, and then I'll come back to you. Ooh, this is a really strange little brush. I mean, because it's oil painting, I mean, oil painting style, it's gonna look okay, but at the same time, it feels kind of wrong, you know? It's kind of like certain search terms on X-Hamster. It's going to feel a little bit wrong, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to judge you for it. Unless you say it on your stream, so you're okay. Good night. How's it going, dude? My boy Hester over there. Been playing games with him recently. It's my boy right there. Say hi to him if you haven't said hi to him already. He just loves the attention. That's okay. Shall we call it? Shall we call it? I'm not okay for sure. You'll get there. I believe in you. You are an expert on yourself. You'll be able to rectify whatever does assail you. See, on isolation, those marks look like crap, right? They look really shitty. Because they require a little bit of a shadow underneath them for them to work. If the shadow's not there, it's not going to work. So I might just add just the shadow, in fact. Because everything has a bit of a three-dimensional form to it, right? Important note. A couple of those riveties on top, and I think we can call this one done. Lovely, beautiful texture on it. What about the back? Does anybody have objections towards the back? Does anybody not like that back? I don't like that back, I'm gonna be honest with you. But hey, this is a life that I lead. Put this back here maybe. And let's give a bit of curvature on you, maybe just a little bit of curvature. Show that there. I do love that texture though, it's just so wacky. It's a wacky texture. Can I somehow retain that, I wonder? Let's do this. Let's wall that off. We'll make a little wall right there. And because I need to correct the colors right there, we'll wall it off and then I'll use the local color right there. Why are you interpolating my values? Can you paint what's actually there, please? Ooh, they're being very, very nasty, these brushes. They have minds of their own. I guess I'm just gonna straight paint you then. Good enough. You know what I'm quite surprised about? This blue is not showing up there. What's up with that? I actually want to put it there just because it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sure it's just like it's a weirdly situated light source, but I want to see a little bit of that blue up there. Feels wrong not to put it there. Where's that cool little brush that we were using? There it is. Just a hint of it, right? I mean, are we really gonna suffer the wrath of God? A little bit of blue on there. There we go, guys. That's our painting. Our first one. How long did we take? 51. Not bad. Pretty goddamn good. Do a bit of cropping, and we are done so. Sure you wouldn't mind if I put an additional little stroke here. I want to clarify this head for a second. Nice. Very, very cool. I like that a lot. Okay, let's export that before we lose it forever. Get a PNG out of that. You guys did the study with me, by the way. You're welcome to post on the Discord. But it's cool. I realize that the timings are a little bit different these days. I'm gonna hold anybody to it. That is our first piece right there. Respectable.
I can't
Little
believe
armor right
you've
there.
done this.
Mask Crisis, thanks dude. Thanks for the follow. I do appreciate that. 50 minutes right there. Pretty good. Really gonna break this. I'm gonna break this set in. This new brush set. We're gonna get some mileage today. Hell yeah. So, two different brush packs, two different effects in the armor. Not extremely comparable pieces, but hey, what are you gonna do?
You've done this.
Super Ninja, thanks dude, appreciate you. Also, hi Rianne, good to see you. Hope you're having a good day. But yeah, alright, so next reference, let's do the horn build. Alright, we'll do this in 45 minutes, yeah? Sound good? It's pouring outside, by the way.
I can't believe you've done this.
Peter in the Rain, very appropriate because it is pouring cats and dogs outside, but I do appreciate your company. Alright, so let me do a quick check on the Discord. I'm not sure. Okay, I don't think anybody did this one, but this is a community drawing stream, so you're more than welcome to find the references on my Discord. I'm really a big fan of that middle suit. It looks like it's in the desert theme. Yeah, this one is really cool. This is actually a 30-minute painting. So it's using heavy selection tool. So I'm going to be a little bit slower, like I said, because I have to search and search and search for brushes today. But ultimately, I think it's somewhat worth it. But yeah, I have quite a few sets of armor under my belt. Maybe I can show you guys some. So we have those that I just showed you. There's this one that we did. That one's kind of cool. There's a bunch on my Instagram. I love drawing women in armor. One of my personal favorite things to paint. I did a big one recently. I did this one. So basically, if you ever commission me, this is kind of what it looks like. Because if I turn my brain off while painting, this is what I end up with. I don't really like this kind of painting style, by the way, which is why I'm always pushing different styles. But hey, at least I can paint if I need to. Just been women and horses and a bunch of armor in between. To be fair, it feels pretty good. I do like those subjects a lot. Then we have my old armors right there. This one is one of my favorites. Here's another one with the horse. This is actually one of my favorites as well, but I never painted it like well, IMO. Like I could have done a lot better job. This was one of my first like proper armor pieces. This is not even the full version. 1 second. Where is the full version? I think it's... Nope, I was wrong. Maybe you will be the full version. Yes, you are. This one is actually beautiful. Because it was snow. You see that beautiful light? Like, where do you even get this condition, you know? Armor in snow is arguably maybe my favorite thing in the world to paint. Because you would never have this opportunity to just add this crazy amount of light on this plane right there. But I did an okay job. It's not great, it's not terrible. I would love to do that reference again. It's very, very early on into the armor studies. But hey, I've learned a lot since then. Maybe you can go back. Bubble in the snow? We should do a bubble in the snow. Okay, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that first little painting. We're going to be getting into the second one right now. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am actually going to slightly move my chat. If you guys are wondering what I see while I stream, I see this. Okay, I got my brushes here. That's my new brush set and my picker there. This is actually really uncomfortable for me, but I needed to be here so you guys can see it because I'm screen capturing just this much off of my Krita window, and I can't screen capture it if it's like this. It doesn't screen capture properly, so it has to be here. Anyway, as you can see, the chat's right here and it's covering most of my screen, so I'm going to move it slightly. Okay, now I can actually read. And reading is important. Cool. Alrighty, let's do another one. Second reference is a hornbill. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Great Indian Hornbill, or the Malabar Hornbill. I've actually seen this in the wild. I believe it is the Malabar Hornbill. Beautiful creature. What a crazy adaptation. Does anybody know what that's for? I've seen hornbills all my life, but I never stopped to question it. Alright, we can get rid of the first reference. And we can also say goodbye to this one. This is all done in one layer, by the way, since we are doing this very much like a traditional oil painting. I do get a lot of my information, if not most of it, from oil painters. It's a great resource, and again, painting is painting, so if you like the style of realism, well, a lot of oil painters paint realistically, so they're great people, great people to study from. While I was grinding out my overhead press before stream, I had a channel called Draw Mix Paint on, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Definitely suggest checking him out. I'm not an entirely enormous advocate of his method, so it's this channel if you're curious. That's a terrible brush. Do I have anything that's resembling a pencil in this pack? That's okay. Draw, mix, paint. There's the channel. So he has a whole methodology when it comes to painting, which it's okay. I mean, you can like it, you can hate it. What I really like about his ideology when it comes to painting is his error checking. I think he has a great error checking philosophy. So I can go into that since we're taking a bit of a break right now. But his error checking is this, and I've said this before on stream, but it's good to think about. So this applies to realism. So let me just get a pencil so I can actually draw. It applies to realism, but this is the idea. So there are 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. What's a 1? Check your values. This one is obvious, right? Realism is predicated on values because we want to define or rather discern and then portray to your viewer exactly where the light's coming from in order for us to clearly say, okay, this is something that exists in reality, and a lot of reality is, it's predicated on the form revealed by light. So lighting, aka value, aka check your values for a good painting. Next one is do not over mix. Right? So basically what that means is that don't start blending crazily, start tiling your values in almost like a gouache painting. keep things nice and isolated, right? The idea being is that if you start to blend things in way too quickly, what happens is that you kind of lose out on proper form, proper structure. So what he advises is you put a bunch of paint everywhere, and then wherever you need to, you blend. Everywhere else, you don't blend. That's the kind of idea. Alright, so don't overmix is the other one. So the next one is this. Maintain the abstraction. What that means is that when there's order, there's order, and when there's chaos, there's chaos. Okay? Basically what that means is that if I have an ordered structure, let's say these armor, so 1, 2, 3, that's ordered, right? So I can't create intense amounts of disorder for it to remain realistic. Because in realism we have the concept of abstraction, which is we abstract certain things, right? We don't paint them exactly the way they are, we kind of evoke them on the canvas. For instance, this armor plate over here isn't painted perfectly, but I evoked it by painting these dark colors underneath, because invariably there's going to be a rim light, there's going to be a specular highlight, there's going to be a rim all around here, these rivets are going to be perfect, but I didn't need to do any of those things for me to tell the viewer that, okay, this is actually an armor plate, right? Because the focus is going to be here, and if the focus is here, this reads well enough, so I maintain the abstraction. That's number 3. And number 4, if I'm not mistaken, is do not overcorrect or overcompensate. I think he also calls this as don't exaggerate, I believe, is what he says. And I think this is number 2 in his list. This is the order that I remember them in. But the idea is that here's something that you will notice in 95% of my paintings, and maybe in your paintings as well, most likely, because we're not all that different. If there's a line like this, we will most likely paint it this. If there's a line like this, we'll most likely paint it like this. So what we're doing is we exaggerate the angle. It's a very cripplingly pervasive problem in most beginners and intermediate. So I'm an intermediate or beginner in a lot of senses. And I still do this till this day. I will do this all the time. I exaggerate my verticals and exaggerate my horizontals. Because if something is 45 degrees, I'll paint that and I'll draw that accurately. But I really notice, especially because I do proportional tests all the time, right? I do sketch verification, I do trace compares, and every time I do it, I always make this mistake in just about one of every 2 or 3 paintings. There's going to be a vertical somewhere, a really important one. These are not small changes, they're big ones. I'll do a really important vertical, and what happens is that it was actually slightly skewed in the reference, and because I did it vertical the first time, there was an eye here, the eye became vertical. Because of the eye being vertical, the nose became vertical, and eventually a face that was supposed to be like this, or supposed to be like this rather, it ends up like this. Okay? And it is a problem. It's a problem that I face every single painting. It's a genuine problem. Like honestly, if I identified this painting against my reference, you would probably be able to spot it right now. I made something too vertical. It's a problem. So don't exaggerate. So this is from the same channel, so go follow him. Really good source of information. It's good to have these kind of things externalized, right? Don't just say, okay, if there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. You need to know what the problems are going to be before you even make them. Okay, that's how you kind of make sure that every stroke is well informed. That's the kind of idea. So draw, mix, paint. I think it's a great channel. Like I said before, I don't fully support his process. I think I could do a lot of things. There are a lot of things that I could do that better suit my own interests. So I don't follow his process, but his error checking is great. It's fantastic. I think it's very applicable to a wide variety of realistic processes. So I do appreciate it. Okay, with that said, let's go to the second one. I'll do a slight little change on my cropping. Is that good enough? This is the only thing that I do before the time, by the way. Everything else is in the time. It's all preparing my canvas. How about that? Do that. Let's get the reference nice and small because I don't want to be focusing on the details. We can talk about this again since we talked about the armor. So again, when you're drawing anything and you want to draw it realistically, simplification is the name of the game, especially because we're going to be painting this in 45, right? So just like the armor we just did, we can't afford to be bogged down in things that aren't important for the greater picture. Which means that we're going to be simplifying certain shapes and saying that they have the same value, even if they may not. Bonnie, how's it going? Good to see you. not the body. But for example, here, this is one large shape. I could even extend it all the way up here. Okay, that's a large shape. Same value, 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 same value. Right here, right here, right here. Right? So when I get that value, I should be painting all these spots, basically. This kind of idea. Let's simplify your reference, right? And I could simplify even further, right? Even further would be this. I cut across here, I make one big shape, like that. Right? This becomes one shape right there. This becomes one shape. And this whole thing becomes one shape, basically. These kind of ideas. This is like basically how I think about simplification. So that means that everything in there becomes the same value, becomes the same color. And after that I can make modifications, don't get me wrong. The entire painting is not going to be like that, but the beginning of the painting must start out this way, right? Because the simpler we're able to kind of show ourselves where things go, the more chance of success the painting has. That's why you'll see a lot of painters, especially realistic painters, do underpaintings. Because the underpainting is for them to understand what the relationship of the local values are on the canvas, as well as the tiling, to figure out where certain values go. These kinds of ideas. So it's important. Yeah, follow Bonnie, one of my buddies on Twitch. You're not streaming today, are you, Bonnie? Is it Saturday? Oh, it is a Sunday, because of India. Alright, let's not dilly-dally, let's keep painting. That was fun. This is the first thing that I painted today. Went around to catch that Bonnie. Right there, painted the armor. Okay. Let's take a sip of water, and we paint again. References on the Discord, by the way, if you want to paint along. I do reviews and critiques if you need them. Who, me? Nah, just some bag. I'm very impressed and proud of you. Is that what you're looking for? JK, ahaha. Alright. The thing is, I can never get mad at that because I do doubly and triply worse. That's why I'm very courteous to people in my chat, because I'm just a demon in other people's chats. For good reason. That's just how I roll. Alright. Let's reset the timer, and we don't count it down, we just go. We just go. How we do it here. Alright. Let's just prime this canvas. Prime it for success. So the first thing that I'll do is I notice a bit of a hint of green. It's not exactly blue, it's bluish green in the background. Also it's lighter. So start right there. That's obnoxious in this color right there. It's obnoxious. I'm gonna tone that down, we'll desaturate it. And we'll just fill that background with something. Right? I just wanna prime this canvas so something interesting to happen later on down the line. Right? So I'm not gonna be spending too much time on this. We'll just have a little bit of fun. Now is where I kick back and relax and toss a bunch of things around the canvas like a chimp. Hopefully at the end of it, we're left with a good painting. Also I want to desaturate a bit more because I really want those beautiful, beautiful colors in my piece to shine. Man, that canvas is more primed than Optimus. Hell yeah. Humor. The bottom's going to be more green than the top. Are you all playing tonight, Hessa? Because I want to play some more of that game. You guys don't know Hessa, by the way. One of my oldest friends in the world. Be nice to him when you see him. I do his royalty. I would sacrifice any one of you for him. Maybe not you, Rian. I wouldn't sacrifice you. Everybody else, though, it's free game. Especially you, Bonnie. Alright, throw some green in there. Just have some fun with it, man. We don't gotta be too careful. What are we, hyper-realistic artists? Not that I have anything against them. I actually like hyper-realism. Bonnie does hyper-realism sometimes. She's super versatile like that. Which I kind of work. I will indeed be on the line. Hell yeah. So now the biggest question of this age. Do I put in that goddamn bark? You know, I got 45 minutes to paint this. Do I put in that fucking bark? Like, do I care about it? Here's what I'll do. Here's the compromise, right? Here's the compromise. We do a little bit of chet. I know this is an oil painting and whatnot, but I'm gonna do a bit of a chet. And put that, well, just do that real quick. Nobody saw it, nobody has to know about it, but it's there, alright? It's there for all to see. To desaturate that, I'll push it to more of the red maybe. That's just a plain and dull idea, you know? Nobody has to know about this. Let's desaturate that a little bit. Just instant brunch with your boy Indian abroad. Easy peasy, nobody has to know about, like I said. Okay, well, suddenly a branch appeared out of nowhere. Cool, I guess we can paint with it now. Let's toss some greens, some foliage, as Bonnie would say, because she's German or something. Green, onto the canvas here. Now we're looking like a canvas engineer piece. This is like a super canvas engineer look to our piece at the very beginning, which I don't mind. So you're saying I'm valuable enough to be part of a trade? True. Would you trade jewels for me? Gross. I want that to be kind of blurry, so we'll paint it in with the blurry kind of brush. Because I can't manually blur things. I know I cheated with the selection tool, but let's keep that kind of shit to the down low, alright? Let's not go crazy with it, so I'll do a little bit of that. And already we're looking quite good. Get the jewels Bentley Bear? Hell yeah. That's a reference. Alright, so a bit of harshness, a bit of hardness down here. We do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. There's some crazy mossy nonsense happening here. It's been 3 minutes already. Have I wasted too much time on this background? How much is too much? Do the lights just flicker just now? Like my fucking blood pressure just went up because it's been going on all day. The power. Sweeter than sugar, more precious than diamonds. I'm gonna leave now. That was way too much. It's way too much. It is way too much. Bonnie, shut up. They don't know you like I do, right? Okay, so we gotta block in this Hornabill. So here's the first thing we do, alright? The first thing we do is we establish boundary conditions because this goddamn bird, much like Bonnie, is going to be very unwieldy and flaily. So we don't want it to just fly off the canvas real quick. So let's add some boundary conditions, okay? Really quickly. I met her at TwitchCon though, she was super chill. Nah, I don't buy it. It was a paid actor. Throw in a couple of these little things here. I'm sensing some hostility here. Yeah. Some hostility. Is the power there always a problem? Yes, Rian, we get a bunch of brownouts here. Almost every single day. We had one every year that I've been here at least. And Hessel can attest it's been that way for the last 10 years, at least. How long have we known each other, Hessel? More than 10 years right now, right? This is a very lazy blocking, by the way, but it's fine, dude. It is fine. Don't worry about it. Alright, just relax. Don't take everything so seriously. It's gonna be fine. The blocking is sufficient. But like I said, things were kept into good coordination, so now we just have to fill in the blanks. One of the nice things about Burge is the blocking is never too complicated. It's usually the coloring and all that stuff that really matters. But we're okay right now. Must be, I met you in 2009. Jesus, 10 years. That's the math right there. Hey Bonnie, could you check my math on that real quick? Niaskar, that's another one of my friends. My buddies are here. Do a quick little thing right here. You guys want to say hi to the stream? I can get on TeamSpeak right now if you'd like. You guys want to meet the stream while I paint? I'm kind of afraid to because I might get banned. They promise to behave. I get rid of some of this stuff over here. Fix this. So the way this beak's going to be set up is the negative shape right now. So when they're kind of complex shapes like this, I love to just look at the negative. Because it's a very clear negative right there, right? It's almost like a shark's tooth. You see that? So we draw that shark's tooth right there. Why would I promise you a beehive? Wait, what? Oh, behave, I get it. Be nice to Bonnie? No, she's not nice to me. Quid pro quo. Crow? Something like that. Quid pro quo. Throw in some of this over here. And that's a block in, 7 minutes in. Okay, let's draw some shapes. Shapes are important. Come on, Austin Powers. Cool, there you go. Thanks, Bob. See, Bob, you understand me. Go out sometime. Let's draw some shapes here. You think the shape has no place on a bird? But I beg to defer, because with this shape I shall pierce the heavens. Let's toss some shadows right there. So again, this is not line art, we are just blocking things in for future reference, because there are going to be things that go inside these little things. On a very technical terms right there, but it's actually going to happen. Give it a bit. We should though. I think we should. I think girls have like girl dates where they just talk about boys and veganism. I think we should have just boy dates. Talk about monster trucks and paint their nails. That bird looks like Trump. Thank you, Solmer. It's a good start to the stream. Alright. So now some things in dark, some things in light. Okay? Like I said, very, very fundamental rudimentary understanding at the very beginning of the piece. We don't keep it complex, we keep it nice and simple. So some things are dark and some things are light. So let's start painting them. Like I said, we're under no compulsion right now to get this perfectly correct. We'll paint this as a darkish blue-green. That's how I'll start. It's a bit too much. You're a bit too much right there. You're okay. You're okay. So I'll start filling this up, just like that. Do I know for a fact, does this value really suit? Is it actually going to be the value that I choose? I have no idea. But I know it's going to be darker. It's going to be darker than the background. That's where I'm going from. And slowly but surely we build up an understanding. With every stroke we establish context, with the context we re-establish our strokes. That's how painting goes. Anybody can do it. Oh wow, it does kind of look like... okay. Okay, bring up a little bit of the darkness right there. It kind of pains me a little bit in my inside place, the fact that that's so grey, but it's okay. It's okay to be grey. For the time being. How's it going, Solmer? You have a good day, buddy? Okay, let's paint that. We gotta slightly transition out of those greens, so we'll start right there. How about you? Not good enough. How about you? You're kind of okay. How about you? You're perfect. Like I said, I don't want to over-specify and overthink any of this stuff. We just jump in there, we make our best guess. If we get stuck thinking about the most perfect thing we can possibly put into certain areas, we're going to be painting this forever. Why we just make some decisions and we stick to them. I want to put in a beautiful plumage of saturation right around, like that. We build upon that. Let's push it more towards an orange, and we'll build upon that as well. This paint, I kind of like how it interacts. Like I don't have perfect amounts of control over it, but it is kind of cool. Eating ice cream and preparing for some more studies. I will be doing one right after this. That'll be my final one. I'll be off. But you're welcome to join me. So again, not a perfect value, but again, we're not after crazy amounts of perfection. I simply want to order some values with some amount of color on them. I want to order them in a way that makes sense to me, and then later on I'm always at liberty to make some changes. The bottom one's actually brighter than the top one in terms of value. Let's actually paint that with a desaturated red, maybe. Something like that, bro. I should be doing both of those things too. Join this, Bob, join. It's available. What are you doing right now that's so important? Play with us. Jump in. Desaturate that so it corresponds. Nice. Slowly but surely, man. We're gonna get there. Drinking coffee and contemplating food? I should get some food. What are you gonna get? Are you gonna get Indian food or are you gonna be a traitor? Let's bring some red in here. It's so much easier to see that red now that I know what I'm looking for. Bring that dark here. Beautiful. This piece is gonna be done fairly simply. What is a wing? The wing seems to be... Well, first of all, let's just put it on the brass tacks. It has a light part and a dark part, right? So let's paint that dark dot first and foremost. So again, don't overcomplicate it. Paintings are layered simplicity. They aren't complex. They're layered simplicity. So add that darkness in. Add the darkness in here. Add the darkness in here. Right? Goes down here as well. And there's a slightly lighter desaturated and yellow value. We'll just say that that's it. Like I said, I want to once over everything and then I can go back and make changes. Again, my notion of best choice is going to differ from place to place, but ultimately it will be somewhere in the ballpark. And the more I paint, the quicker this becomes possible. I have to make less corrections the more I paint. Better understanding of what I'm doing, my eye improves. I miss the curry. We don't have good Indian places where I live. That sucks. You'll have to make your own then. I will be your guide. Ritual shaman. You and me, we shall know the way to the butter chicken, the vindaloo, and even, if you're lucky, the chicken tikka masala. I can coordinate. Rianne, did you make the vegan stuff for your kids today?
Oh, what a day. What a lovely day.
Oh, thanks, Bonnie. I appreciate you. Thanks for the support, friend. Bob, enjoy your emotes. Make sure to spam bag whenever you see Bonnie to thank her for her support. Let's put blue here. Ooh, this is a bit of a trepidatious situation. I'm not quite sure what exactly to put. But we cannot let the canvas win, right? We can't let the canvas win. So I'm just going to put a purple in here, and we're going to hope for the best. Because I'm not going to let this canvas boss me around. If I need to make this purple work, I'll make it work. All right? This canvas is not going to tell me what to do. I own this canvas. I'm a fan of these emotes. I did. How did it go? We eat it tomorrow? Oh, does it have like a resting process? There are a lot of vegan things in the Netherlands. I once bought a vegan burger. I noticed once I started eating it. I don't know if this texture is a good idea, but the value is important to put in, so we'll put in that value. A bit of a subtle hint of green. And everything inside it needs to be darkened as well. So we'll darken that up. No problem, Bob. See, Bonnie scared him away. Good job. He got the sub he was lurking for, and now he's never going to come back. It's like me on your stream. Alright, so let's get that same beautiful yellow. There. And look at that eye, man. They're so freaky. Also, speaking of Bonnie, Bonnie's the one that gave us this ref, by the way. So good shots to you. Thanks for sending me this ref on Instagram. Get that beautiful, nice saturated value. Top. I do like how these brushes mix together. That's quite nice. That actually gets blown out a bit more towards the white because it's directly facing the light source. So we can't paint that crazy, but with some amount of moderation, we can make it work. It's not baked, it needs to go into the... Oh, I see. A beautiful red in there. The thing about painting this way is that I don't have to be too specific with my texture because there's so much texture around here. I don't have to think about, okay, this is a bird texture, this is a feather texture. I can basically get away with just getting the values right, and the brushwork will take care of itself. So I need to think a little bit about the edges that I put in, but not so much as I would if I was painting this with other types of like workflows. Which is the kind of cool thing about this. That's a little bit too green. Let's push more to the yellow. Nice. Let's actually bring some of these values down a bit tighter. Right over there, we can use our lovely, fantastic soft brush right there to bring some of that beautiful rim light. That rim is what's gonna sell pieces, man. That rim light, that's gonna sell so much fur and feather pieces are sold by those rim lights. So it makes it really look like something special. There's so much arbitrary stuff happening in this area on the piece. I'm not quite sure exactly how to paint it. I'll give it my best shot though. There's a lot of like noise basically in that area. I'm almost concerned, always considering doing something like this over there. Painting it with a straight up noise brush and then painting over it. It's kind of half-assed, isn't it? And I do want to have that bleed through. Maybe that is a solution. Within my limited tools, maybe that is a solution. Go in there with a bit of darkness, and then pick a value that goes on top. Paint that in. You're gonna get that same noise that I'm looking for. And once I get that enough, with enough bleed through, I can go in specifically and delineate certain feathers. Substantiate the whole thing. I think that's how you would do that quicker. Good to know, right? Would I do this if I was painting this for a longer piece? No. But again, we're painting this for a shorter piece, and it's good to know shorthand. With the colors on the back, I do kind of like them, but the issue is that they're verging too much towards the purple. And the purples I want to reserve for the background. I want to bring this back into my greens. But not any green. One moment. Sorry about that, I had to adjust something on my table. That was going to be really loud. Alright. So generally speaking, it does go lighter towards the right hand side. And this needs to go greener. Do I have anything that can slightly adjust the value? How about you? You're kind of okay actually. You might just see me out of this mess. You're okay. So Hesso and NASCAR are both online. I actually really want to play some games. Maybe we'll just do two. I've been really enjoying playing games again, man. It's been good. Such a good time. I think I went almost a year without doing anything extracurricular. I lifted, I ate, I painted, and I went to class. And that's it. So it's been really cool to just kick back and just enjoy it. Just something for the sake of enjoying it. Not to say that I don't enjoy art, but I do a lot of it. Slowly but surely, build up an understanding. Capture a little bit of that foam shadow up there. It's actually not a foam shadow, it's a cast shadow. And we can adjust some of these warmness. Yeah, it's not the same recipe I showed, it's a bit similar but Dutch, so my kids could read it. Oh, you made it together, I see. That's really fun. A weekend activity. I want there to be some amount of like spikes, but I need to find a brush in this pack. Again, this is a new pack if you're joining me. So, I don't have exactly what I'm looking for. That seems okay. Do I have any alternatives? Alright. What about you? You're nice actually, I think I like that a lot. Okay, well we're gonna have to sell this, and the way we'll sell it is with that highlight on the rim. That rim highlight's gonna sell a lot of this. We'll make sure that's nice and hard, because it's a nice hard highlight. Maybe with a little less granulation in there. I want it to be a bit stricter. That's better. The combination actually looks quite nice. Same thing on the other side. There. That rim needs to really establish direction of light because it's not super clear in the piece. What is the weirdest thing you ate in the Netherlands? Good question. Probably, I mean, it's not weird, generally speaking, but I had never had sushi before I came to the Netherlands, so that was a new experience. I know it's not Dutch, but there are some really good sushi places. Do you use a specific thought process in deciding what edges on a face to leave hard? Well, there's some defaults, right? So the defaults are the silhouette edges, so the edges on the that define the corners of your head against the background. Those are most likely going to be hard. If you can see the face, those are most likely going to be hard. But beyond that, if it's a girl, I will eventually most likely soften up most of the edges on the face, just to kind of prevent myself from being overly harsh, because I will tend to harden things up naturally, so I will over soften to compensate because it's my own predilection. Beyond that, there are going to be very hard edges near the occlusions, obviously, so your nostrils, your corner of the mouth. The corner of the mouth is an interesting thing because, let me pause the timer here, but in the shape of your lips, right? So this right here, that's going to be hard. This is going to be usually hard. But the cool thing about it is that these edges over here are usually going to be soft. It's like a hard next to a soft on lips a lot of the times. But you got to be looking for it to find it. Also the eyebrows, certain areas are going to be hard. Usually the eyebrow is like that, for example. Just a generic eyebrow. It's going to be soft here, it's going to be hard here. This one you paint kind of roughly, and this one you paint nice and gently, and it fades into the rest of the head, because what happens there is that the density of hair reduces, so that the value of the hair becomes much less prominent, which means that it goes a lot softer. Also, depending on the angle of the head, certain things can be emphasized. For example, the cheekbone, jawbone. Depending on the direction of the light source, you could have a crazy amount of conch shadow from the brow, the glabella, for example. Those could be very much in the darkness. And obviously, you're going to have underneath the ear, the crook of the neck, those areas are going to be hard as well. So, speaking very generally, I wish you, if you need anything more, you would have to show me a reference. But again, generally it's a difficult thing to talk about. Because again, what if you shine a flashlight up somebody's nostril? Well, no longer do those things really hold. I had bitterbollen, so that's quite nice. Stroopwafel, of course, everybody has had that. It's quite nice. What's weird about it though? I had churros for the first time in Amsterdam. Those are pretty good. Again, not really Dutch though. Yeah, I'm just racking my brain. I don't think I experienced much of the cuisine really while I was there. But it's fine. I'll leave something for when I eventually head back. But yeah, the funny thing about my trip in the Netherlands is that I was so busy at school working with art. I could have genuinely been anywhere in the world and it wouldn't have mattered. Because most of the time I was either in the library, in my classes, or at my apartment. So very seldom did I ever go for like walks or stuff like that, even though I do like doing those kind of things. I never did ever get the time to do something like that. Just bouncing between like the gym, my apartment, library, and the classes. It kind of sucked. But hey, it's just the life we live sometimes. Try a bit of darkness down here. Easy peasy. So we're just trying to establish the light source, right? Basically the logic in space is light coming from top left, darkness in bottom right. So everything we do, we must do to strengthen that idea. So we can do a few things obviously right now. So, I mean, establishing that understanding is important because it means you're going to have to think less about your reference. Or you think less about looking at your reference and like spoiling things that are important, right? You just know what's important. That's why learning structure, learning lighting, learning fundamentals is important because not only is your eye bolstered, or rather, not only is your eye good, it gets bolstered by this knowledge, right? It informs your eye, which is very, very, very important because it's what makes you quicker. You're not like waiting to find something out, you already know it. Beautiful, beautiful yellow marks right there. Really up that saturation, get that beautiful highlight going around. Maybe start to hint to the viewer It's a very different textures we're working with right now. We just did armor, and now we're doing feathers. Little hints towards that softness. And again, it's going to be a little bit of a rim light down there. Can't really manage my values too well because the brush blends too much with my background, but be able to manage something. I'm going to get some beautiful worms across this tail. Six minutes. We can cap this at 30, I think. I don't think I need that much more time on this. Well, it doesn't mean I just need to speed up a little bit though. It's 30. That way I can get my last reference in as well. Okay. We gotta get that rim sorted. So how to make this back stand out a bit more? Well, again, sort the rim light in the various areas that needs to be sorted. Well, maybe a little bit more than 30 is required. Now I think about it, because I haven't even done the eye yet. This was originally done for 45. Let's see how quickly we can do it. How about that? I require a bit more of a harder brush here. Like that. We'll slightly exaggerate some of the details. These regions. Beautiful rim light. Painting with a bit more fidelity, I think. I didn't like how loose it was before. We want this to be quite a hard edge. Much better. Okay, same thing goes for up there. One needs to be hard edges because this is point of interest right now. So point of interest always goes a bit harder. The wire underneath the wings is too horizontal. The wire? Oh, you mean the branch? The rim light there, and paint it a bit harder on the top. Really got to emphasize the direction of light. What we've been painting. The darkness underneath. Oh, why are you being so weird? White? Wait, no, you have to explain it a little bit better. I don't understand. Ren, I'm stupid, you know this. White feathers? Okay. Bonnie, help! Get some darkness in there. We can separate a little bit of these feathers real quick. The white feathers on the wings are too horizontal. The white feathers underneath the wings. Oh, these ones? Yeah, it's probably accurate. Thank you. Oop. Appreciate that. Saw some gray in there. It's just a tail. But yeah, I do appreciate it. Make the lighting condition a bit more stout. I'll try blocking stuff in like this. It's fun, man. Very, very effective way of painting. How would you rather do it though? What's the alternative? I'm curious. like fill everything up with one color and then paint an area and then paint another area, that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm not so cryptical. I'll be more critical. Appreciate that. I learn more when people point to stuff like that. But like I said, something that I'm really aware of as well. Because we just talked about it, right? But yeah, it happens, man. It happens. Good to point out. Construction right there. Cool. Stuck this area up right there underneath the wing. Right there. Cool. Beautiful, beautiful darkness. That side. And we can even throw in a little bit of this light. Aberrate that area slightly. I want to push those darknesses maybe, but it's not an area of interest, but it's worth it still. Worth it still. Just to push that, just to get a little bit more solid feel to the piece. You see how much that's distracting? I'll refuse to put that light in the middle of it. Yeah, there you go, yeah, thank you. Throw that light in. I'm going to define these things by the rim lights. Also, my shoulders start to lock in place a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit of stretching right before I get to my next one. That's the overhead press right there. I should have done some face pulls. I'll do that next, or maybe after my stream. Face pulls in. Gotta work those rotator cuffs. Those lines are a little bit too liney, I think. So I got rid of that. I'll leave the other one because it looks cool. We're having a little bit of bleed through issue. A little bit. I do see it in areas. And I didn't have it in the previous piece because I actually primed my canvas, like I should have in this one. But it's okay, I'll remember it for the next one. That was a good idea, so I will have to retain that idea the next time I do a painting. Nice, colors are looking fine. Okay, let's bring it to a close with the face. Quickly lighten up. Let's give a little bit of dimension onto this, the beak, because it does have a lighter value on top. Easy peasy, we added the dimension. Same thing for the other side, by the way. It's a thin beak, but it does have dimension to it. It does go lighter and yellower to the top. Beautiful. Nice, it's time to really read. And now we gotta get that deeply beautiful red, not red particularly, but purplish red division. John has gone. Back in Sweden, Forsenga? No. Very much still in India. Good job on the faces, by the way, John. Been following your progress on Instagram. Hell yeah, boy. Get that margin. Follow your boy on the Instagram. Follow John. Get that darkness all the way back. Define the jaw a little bit, has a lighter value on top. So like just thinking about the logic and then looking at the reference, as opposed to the other way around, does indeed save time. Adding a little bit of dimensionality to the face. Like that. And throw in a little bit of red. So these strokes are well merited because again, area of interest, so I don't mind going this close, I don't mind adding this much information because this is where I want you to look. And this beautiful, beautiful little Red's in there. Oh, pretty. Turns out if you spend more than 10 minutes to do the normie line work thing, it takes a lot more time. It does, but the normie line work thing does matter. It depends on what the piece is like. For instance, if the face is just straight profile, I'll draw it without any lines. But if it's at this weird angle that I've never drawn before, it's worth doing the blocking, man. It's worth it. It's situational. Just identify what you're good at, what you're bad at. Because we're not Kim Jong-gi, right? We don't have crazy visual library. So we gotta accommodate for that. And however we can. But yeah, those faces have been looking good. I think the one that you posted just not that long ago, the one with the old lady's face, I thought that one was very successful. Looked decent. I didn't see the reference, but did follow the person that you linked. Good? Alright. Let's put that eye in, right? I'm gonna have to zoom in for this because I can't see otherwise. Okay, what is the first value? Can I relate it to anything on the canvas? We can relate it to that value over there. I picked it off the beak. To begin with, get a dark value, I substantiate it around, and it goes underneath. That gives it the lower jaw. I darken it up to give the occlusion of the beak. So I need a slightly harsher brush than what I have already. Are you gonna be my brush? Maybe? You're kind of okay, but I need you to be a bit cleaner. How about you? No, how about you? You're the brush. Yes. You're correct. Get it there. Link it with the eye. It needs to be linked. Can't be two different shapes. Right? Let's toss in that lightness of the eye. Seems to be almost cool in comparison, so let's desaturate that. Try a gray. The gray doesn't work out, so let's try a slightly saturated light green. And that sort of works out, but I want the edge to be harder. The solution is with this brush. Right, I want to taint that because the value is too clean. So we taint it slightly with a bit of a darker red. So it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. You realize why we're doing that, right? Okay, throw in some intrigue on the bottom, some lighter, more oranger values towards the bottom. It's a bit too light right there. Push it down, push it more towards the red. I actually want to see that saturation, so we'll push the saturation as well. Like that maybe. Looks good enough, yes. In hindsight, more dark values in there. Because the furrows are causing some darkness. I'm not going to choose a new dark value though. I'm just going to stick with the one that I have in there. I don't want to overcomplicate the eye. So that much is fine. And then of course the coup de grace. We pop in that eye. Do I have a hard brush anywhere here? Because this actually has to be a hard. It's going to be the hardest thing in the entire image. I'm struggling. I don't think there is a hard brush like that. Okay, we'll make do. I think it's this brush that's somewhat hard. Is it you? I think I remember at this point. Yes, I think it's you. There you are. Okay. Let's paint that slight little green value on top of you. Indicate the little lid that's protruding, catching a bit of light. Right. You. And I'm going to slightly lighten up since I did taint it a little bit too much. I will lighten up the value around. The read isn't the same because the containing shape needs to be slightly angled. Give us that stern expression. And maybe even add a little bit of an eyebrow right there. Sternify it up. Still spending most of the time correcting the longer jaw. Side is too... Wait, still spending most of the time correcting the longer jaw and perspective side. It's too big a shape to get accurate, I think. Well, it depends on how you perceive that statement, right? I mean, right now perhaps, but later on you might find it a lot easier. The thing is, like, the things that you're good at, they change with time. So you might easily find yourself in a position where it's easier for you to eye that, or it's going to be harder for you to eye that, so you gotta kind of play it by ear. Like, the thing is, we don't improve on everything at the same time, like, equally. So sometimes it's just worth thinking about things, like, in terms of principles as opposed to hard rules. So the hard rule of I should never ever draw my faces, I should always paint my faces. It's, understand the principle behind that. It's not the fact that one's superior than the other, it's more suitable for certain types of references. That's what I'm trying to encourage you to think about. Yeah, basically. I'd rather have a game plan, right? No, because it's important to know strengths and weaknesses. Let's saturate that a bit more. Push towards the orange. Beautiful. Do I like that? Do I hate that? I like that, actually. Makes the shape nice and cohesive. But in order to substantiate that, I need to add a little bit. This little nonsense over there. Bring a little bit of this darkness. It's a bit too liney. Reduce the intensity of that. A little bit too liney. We can just leave it as is. And of course, we need to correct the shape. I can make this a bit softer. Lighter, and we should be almost done. I think a bit too much green in there, actually. That's better. Just do more of the reds. Okay, 43 minutes. Take the crop. Beautiful. Number 2. Nice. So yeah, number 2 right there is the 2 pieces that we did today. Not bad whatsoever. Maddie has this brush that I exclusively use. It's weird, you can get both soft and hard depending on the pressure. And it also has a ton of texture. Yeah, so a lot of people have these kind of brushes. Dave Greco, for example, has a very good example of this brush. It is a DG main brush. So yeah, definitely there are a lot of them. Bob, if you want a brush like that, DG main is in Photoshop. And Maddie's brushes also are in Photoshop. I think just hit exclamation mark brush or something in their chat. If you had popping right there, that's my shoulder. I'm just quickly doing some dislocations between pieces here. Yeah, Dave's set is plenty. It's a very, very good set. But as with all things, the answer is always in fundamentals and never in brushes. But yeah, brushes can easily be a comfort. As a solid pop, yeah, it's good dislocations for you. I need to use this more. I actually have it in Krita. I have Dave's brush in Krita. It took a while to make it work. Now, it does work very similarly. Unfortunately, it just eats up my RAM. Unfortunately, that's one part that's kind of shitty about it. But this is the brush. I can get really hard, get nice, beautiful, soft blending. Okay, I really have no idea what time GMT 8+1 is. Yeah, I actually started earlier than that anyway, so that's fine. But we've painted two things already, Erica. I painted this set of armor, and I painted this hornbill. Hopefully you like them. Just stretching a little bit, and then we're going to be painting some women and horses. The armor was 50 minutes, I think. I'm getting used to this brush set. It's new. This is the first thing that I painted with the brush set. I was catching up on some studies from yesterday. It's okay, but again, I'm really trying to figure out things over here, so there's no sense of real shape or value on this piece, just the color rough. But yeah, I had fun doing it. And these pieces obviously a lot more sensibly defined. Is DJ main thing in PS? Yes, it is. It is in PS. They have paints in Photoshop. What time is it for you right now? Let me check. It is 1:03. Oh, it's 1:03. Jesus. That is late, actually. I might call it. I might call it because I want to finish line work and also play some games if I have the chance to. Have I only been streaming for 2 hours? How late did I start? That's terrible, because I need to be up early tomorrow. But hey, we got 2 pieces out there. That's my bare minimum on the stream, generally speaking. So I'm happy enough. Alright, let's call it. Sorry, Erica. We're actually gonna paint this one. But I'm itching to get some, because let me show you what I've been debugging most of the evening. I can show you what I've been working on. I've been trying to figure out this goddamn arm for most of the evening, and I think I finally figured it out before stream. But one of my characters has these foldable pairs of arms. I think I've showed this character before. But I have to do an orthographic on the arm, and it is terrifying. It's this character over here. So I had to figure out the specifics of the arm. I got the mechanics down already, but I'll show you the orthographic. Where is it? Oh man, if I didn't save this, I'm gonna be so pissed. I think this is the one. I think everything is like low opacity. I think I did figure out how everything looks though. I figured out the mechanics somewhat. I think it'll make it work. 1:03 to breakfast time for James. It's true enough. But I've gotten a lot more orderly. So I figured out how it's gonna look, which is cool. I think this set's gonna be really cool when I do the full 3/4. But yeah, it did take a lot of fucking layers. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing after stream. I'll play some games right after stream though, just to kind of chill out a little bit. Yeah, but that was fun. I did really like doing these pieces. I need to make a mental note. I have to start at... How long do I have to start to make a 4-hour stream? Because I want to stream minimum 4 hours. But the network connection has been pretty good recently, so I've been happy about that. So I want to start sticking to a schedule. Not a schedule, but before, you know how my stream was, right? Every single day. Strictly at about 8 GMT plus 1 was my stream. So let's just say about 9ish my time, maybe 9 plus 3 is 12, so 8ish my time when I have to start. Okay, cool. I will update you guys in the Discord, but for now I'm gonna call it because I've been painting all day anyway. So hope you will forgive me. Who gave me raid? Send some love over to some people. You're 10 hours ahead, just about, I think, just about 10 hours. Wild Boy Tom streaming. I wouldn't mind. Go to bed? What do you mean? I get most of my best work done at night. Alright, Tomchi, hell yeah. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the pieces. Time really did fly today. I was hoping to squeeze in 3. We got 2 in here, which is more than sufficient. Just work without showing me, Pepper Hands. Later, Jets friends. Later, Jets. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Let's go raid Tom G. Alright, bios, thanks so much for hanging out. You will be seeing me tomorrow, and hopefully we get our full hours in. I started a lot later than I thought. I think the time zones have me confused. But I should be starting at 7 my time tomorrow, so I get a full 4 to 5 hours in, and then I can work through midnight on my own. So it's going to happen tomorrow most likely, so a longer stream. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed the paintings for today, and you're more than welcome to use the references in your own time. But otherwise, I will catch you on the next stream. Thanks so much for stopping by.